Rabbi, we're getting close to Rosh Hashana. Let's talk a little bit more about the holiday. So what I want to tell you is one interesting thing. You know, some people asked me, there was one person a few years ago, then another person asked me this year also. The question is like this, you know, if a person, let's say, on Yom Tov, not Shabbat, Yom Tov, he needs to go somewhere, you know, far. So they always ask me this question, you know. Number one, you know, can I take like a cab, you know, let's say, right? On Yom Tov, taxi. You Uber, you know, right? Something like this, you know. Are you allowed to take an Uber on Yom Tov? So the truth is, you know, in Shabbat it's not allowed because you're telling a goy to do melacha deoraita, something from the Torah, which is, you know, the fire in the engine. This you're not allowed to tell the goy to do. But what about if it's on Yom Tov, right? So Yom Tov, the difference is that Havarah on Yom Tov is derabanan, it's not from the Torah. So what does that mean? That really from the Torah, Havarah, you know, burning a fire on Yom Tov is allowed from the Torah. But the rabbi said, you know, don't make a new fire on Yom Tov. You can only just extend the fire that you have, you know, to another place. Why did they make this gezerah like this, the rabbis? What's the reason why? The reason is because they want you to, right, to remember, you know, that it's Yom Tov, you know, and it's not like, you know, you can just do whatever you want. You know, so therefore they said, you know what, don't start a new fire. Make only, right, a fire which already was lit. That's why, you know, for Yom Tov, for Rosh Hashana, you should have a memorial candle, you know, which is lit. So if you need to take some fire from it to do some things, right, you can take from there. So buy a memorial candle, which is going to last for 2 days, 2-day candle. Right? Not 1 day. 1 day is not going to be enough. Buy a 2-day candle. You want a week? Okay, I'll give you a week if you want. I'll give you a week. So buy a 2-day candle, memorial candle, you know. So this way you're going to light it before Rosh Hashanah. If you need something, you can take it from there. But the thing is, what about if I tell the goy, you know? So as we said, right, that from the Torah, it's okay, you know, to make a fire on Yom Tov. It's just the rabbis. So therefore, shvut de shvut, you know, you're telling the goy to do it. You're doing something which is a shvut. So therefore, if it's like a serious need, you know, that you need this for Yom Tov, you can tell the goy, you know, to drive you somewhere. If you really need it, something urgent. You know, something like this. But the problem is like this. You cannot make a payment, you know, on Yom Tov. With money or with credit card. You're not allowed to do. Right, the credit card is also not allowed. Not allowed to use credit card on Yom Tov. Doesn't matter. It's a transaction, you know, so you're buying something. You're not allowed to buy with a credit card or money on Yom Tov. So what do? What you got to do is, you know, if you have a need, you know, to take a goy, make the purchase before Yom Tov, you know. Do pre-order, early order, you know.
Usually you pay before.
I'm sorry? No, usually the way, I don't know, you have a car, so you don't know so good, but...
Uber is charging you before. You have the option to choose which driver you want.
Yeah, but usually the way it is, you know, you call the Uber and they take the money right there.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But you can also prepay, you know, do early pay. This is not the usual way, this is unusual way. Like Shinui, you know, whatever. But anyway, right, the point is, that's what you gotta do. If you have a need, you know, to take something, you know, to go somewhere, you gotta pay before Yom Tov, because paying on Yom Tov is not allowed. So you can tell the goy, you know, the goyish cab, you know, Uber, whatever it is, you know, but if it's a Jew, you're not allowed to tell him. There are some cab companies which are Jewish. You know, like this guy over here, you're right, on 99th Street. He's Jewish, this guy. You know, he's Russian, Jewish, whatever, I don't know. So there are some goyim there also. Who knows? You know, but if he's Jewish, you're not allowed to ask him to drive you on Yom Tov. Not allowed. So therefore, right, if a person, let's say, example is like this, right? Let's say, you know, the shul is very far away, you know, and he can't go by foot, you know, he's old, you know, he's sick, whatever, he can't go, you know, so what he can do is that pre-order, you know, the Uber, tell him to come, you know, 6 o'clock, you know, in the morning, you know what I mean, you pay already before, and then the Uber will come with the goy, right, and pick you up and take you to the shul. This is allowed to do, you can do that, because the shvut b'makom mitzvah, you're allowed to do, you know, something like this. But on the other hand, right, if it's Yom Tov and Shabbat, you cannot do it, right? It's Shabbat. This is not allowed, Sometimes Rosh Hashana falls on Shabbat, right? Not this year, but sometimes it does. So there, right, if it's on Shabbat, you cannot do this. There's no way to do this. I'll tell you an interesting story, by the way, which Maran told us himself. I heard from his mouth. Listen to this now, right? There was some Syrian guy, Syrian Jew, lives in New Jersey. A lot of them live over there in New Jersey. Deal, New Jersey, that area, whatever, right? Asbury Park, I don't know, that area. So, what happens is like this, right? Also, there's a lot of Jews in Lakewood. And what happens is like this, right? That this guy lives very far from the shul, He lives like somewhere in the boondocks in New Jersey, not where there's shuls over there. So what happened was that if he doesn't go to shul, if he's not going to have any connection with the Jewish community at all. There's no connection whatsoever, So therefore, right, what happened was he went to Maran, this Jew, whatever, or somebody went to Maran, with the case, and they told him, the question is, can he take a cab to the shul on Shabbat? As we said, right, Shabbat is not allowed, right? We said Yom Tov is allowed, but Shabbat is not allowed. But here's the thing, right? Maran, with his great, power, in halakha, right? Kochad detera, he's able to matir a lot of things that we're not able to do. We're not on that level to do things like this. So you know what he did, right? He told the Syrian guy, for you it's allowed, to get a cab on Shabbat. For you it's allowed, right? So let me explain to you why this is. For us it's not allowed, right? Because we live over here, in Regal Park. We have a shul right down the block, We don't need this kind of thing. We're not, for this it's not allowed. But for him, this guy, right, if he doesn't go to shul, on Shabbat, he has no connection with Judaism, he's going to get lost, totally lost. He has nothing. In those days, there was no internet, they didn't have all these things today that we have today. But anyway, the point is, right, that Maran allowed him to get a goyish cab. As we said, right, you pay before. He comes, picks you up. He came up to the, with the elevator to his apartment, and brought him down in the car and to go to shul. This is what Maran allowed. He told us this. We heard this from his mouth. Question is, how did he allow this? We said, right, it's not allowed. Why? Because Havara, right, making a fire on Shabbat is from the Torah. So you cannot tell a goy to do something which is from the Torah. Only something which is derabanan. Something is from the rabbis. So how did Maran do this? So he explained to us, There is another opinion, which says you can even tell a goy to do something from the Torah. Who says this? Which rabbi is this? Balai Tur. Don't forget. Balai Tur. Right? The Balai Tur says you can tell a goy to do something from the Torah also. We don't paskin like this. But he said in this case, Maran, he said, right, we don't paskin like this. I'm sorry? Balai Tur, yeah. So, we don't paskin like this, but because the majority of poskim don't agree with him. Majority, they say, no, not allowed. Only something which is derabanan. But Maran said, you know what? In this case, that this guy, is going to lose his Judaism. He has no connection to Judaism, nothing. If he doesn't go to shul on Shabbat. He's zero. Totally lost, He may do, God knows what's going to happen to him. You know what I mean? So in a case like this, Maran allowed to use the minority opinion, of the Balai Tur. Here's the thing, there are some poskim who thought that the Balai Tur is like only one who allows this, But the truth is, Maran himself, he found several poskim that allow, like Balai Tur. There's like 2 or 3 of them, like they allow. So it's not only one, it's like 2 or 3. You know what I mean? So in a case like this, which is like an emergency case, very urgent, you're allowed to go even on Shabbat, right? This kind of a thing. So he told him what to do, right? Like this, he arranged the whole thing with him. All the more so, right? This, right, to do on Yom Tov, what we said, right, is allowed, for sure, Right? Kol sheken, kal v'chomer, right? There are some people, when I came out with this sock 5-6 years ago, when I was here, some people start to get on my case, what kind of rabbi are you? You allow them to drive on Yom Tov? They started to go crazy with me, bonkers, They went bonkers with me. I told them, I said, don't go bonkers. I have all the sources. You want me to show you everything. 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, D. I got everything for you. I wrote everything down. To show them, that this is not a problem. And then they shut up, because then they see, right, that they're wrong. This is the thing, So, if there's a need for this, right, we can do, right? As we said, what you got to do is pay before, right? Prepay. There was also another lady who asked me another question, right? Interesting. that her father, Lo Aleinu, was very sick. He's like in some kind of a clinic or something, right? Sick man. So he's in danger of death. He may die any day. You never know what's going to be. So what happened was, right, that she also lives far from the shul. They do a long distance. So somebody, right, offered them to go, to a neighborhood where the shul is. They can sleep there for 2 nights, for Rosh Hashana, and stay there all Rosh Hashana. So this girl, right, this lady asked me, says, my father is sick, if something happens, right, let's say, and my father gets really, really sick, can I go back on Yom Tov, to see him, to visit him, or whatever, something like this. And this was the question that she asked me, So I told them, I said, I don't think it's going to work for you, this thing. Why? Because you have to prepay, as we said, right? And you don't know how you're going to prepay if you don't know, if you need the cab, you don't know. You don't know what's going to be, right? So there's no way to prepay, number one. Then she also, they asked, can we drive ourselves, to see the father? I said, no, you cannot. What's going to be, if you go to your father? They have, people there, nurses, doctors, they have everything. What are you going to do to help him? He can't do nothing anyway, There's no point, What are you, doctor? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Go give him a hug and a kiss? He doesn't need that. He needs refuah. I'm sorry? Right, I understand. But in this case, where you have to drive a car, not allowed to do that, right? So they told me, Rabbi, what should we do? So you know what I answered them? I answered them like this. It's your choice. If you want to go there, and stay there, if you want to go stay there, for Rosh Hashana, you can do it. Because who knows? I don't know if your father's going to get sick. I don't know what's going to be, And even if he does, okay, so what? You'll see him after Rosh Hashana, what's the big deal? You know what I mean? You can. So if you want to go over there, you can go. There's no problem. On the other hand, I told her, I said, if you want to stay home, and stay there, close to your father, you can do that too if you want. Why? Because you're not really obligated to go to shul, Women are obligated to go to shul? No, they're not obligated to go to shul. In the old days, the women never went to shul, 300 years ago, 500 years ago. There was not one woman in shul. You know what I mean? Now all of a sudden it became a moda, moda chadasha, new moda. The women are coming to synagogue, they're coming,
You have lectures for
they're coming for slichot, in the middle of the night, 1 o'clock in the morning. For slichot. It's not snoot, it's not sniut. Why should one be out in the middle of the night like this? It's not sniut. So that's the thing, So I told them, I said, if you want to hear the shofar, you want to go there, fine, but you're not. Are women obligated to hear the shofar? No. Why is that? Mitzvah taseh shazman grama. What does that mean? It's a time-bound mitzvah. Positive mitzvah. So women are not really obligated. But the thing is, I have to tell you, right, that it says in Magen Avraham, even though it's not obligation from the Torah, for the women to hear the shofar, but he says they took it on, as a minhag, as a chovah. That's what he says, So some people say to Magen Avraham, they say, what do you mean took it on as a chovah? It's a minhag. What do you do? What chovah? What chovah is there? What obligation is there? It's a minhag, So the Ashkenazim are very strict about this, by the way. The ladies, they all come, for the shofar. Because of this Magen Avraham. Everybody comes, With the Sephardi ladies, some come, some don't come, you know how it is, right? Not everybody comes, maybe 50%, I don't know, maybe 20% they're coming. I don't know what it is with the Sephardim. Because it's just a minhag, it's not really obligation for a woman to hear the shofar, So therefore, the women, they should try to come if they can, if they have free time. Try to come. Maybe in the morning, maybe in the afternoon. They're going to do another shofar in the afternoon before mincha. So try to come, yeah. But don't make it. If you can't for some reason, right? You're not, take care of your children. You got things to do. I don't know, whatever it is, right? She can't come, So she's patur. They're not chayav to hear the shofar. That's the thing, So that's the rule, with the ladies. It's not an obligation for women. But the Ashkenazim are very strong. They come to the shofar. They all come. All the ladies come. I can't tell you everybody's coming. But a lot of them are coming. A big crowd is coming by the Ashkenazim. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about Tashlich also. So Tashlich, it's a minhag. It's not from the Torah. It's not from the rabbis even. It's a minhag that they took on. About many hundred years ago. It's 800 years. This minhag, mitzvah Tashlich. So what is Tashlich? What is this business? It's like we're throwing our sins, into the water. It's a symbolic kind of a thing, The sins are going into the water. We're doing some prayers over there, The Sephardim also, they read Zohar. a long Zohar they read. For Tashlich, the Ashkenazim, they don't read the Zohar. They just read some Tehillim, that's it. That's all they do, The tefillah that we have for Tashlich, who wrote it? The Sfaradim, Maran Achida. He was the one who wrote this tefillah. It's a very strong tefillah, So try to do it, If you can't read the whole Zohar, it's okay, Not everybody's going to be able to read the Zohar. It's very hard to read. It's long. It's not like, Patach Eliyahu, over here that we do, right? It's very short. This one is a long one, It's going to take for some people, maybe an hour to read this thing. So not everybody has time to read the Zohar. But at least if you can't read the Zohar, try to do the tefillah at least, at least the prayer. If you can't do that, so then tell the rabbi, right, to have you in mind, right, to be Yotzei Dechovah from the rabbi. Listen to the rabbi. What else can you do, right? But here's the thing, right? The question is, what's better, to do the Tashlich in the shul, with a bucket of water, or to go to Flushing Meadow, right? What's better? So the truth is, a lot of people over here, the frummers, the frummy guys, right? They like to go to Flushing Meadow. But the thing is, sometimes you lose more than you gain. Why is that? Because women are coming there, so you're going to be together standing with the women. And they're not, some of them are not dressed properly also. Pritzut, all kinds of things, So the truth is that it's no big deal, Let me tell you, to go to Flushing Meadow. They say, oh yeah, there's fish over there. Oh, yeah, okay, there's fish. Okay, maybe, I don't know. I don't know if they're still alive, those fish. They're still alive? I don't know. Did you check? I don't know. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure if they're alive or not. They're dead. But the thing is, right, that whoever doesn't want to go there, doesn't want to waste 2-3 hours, going, coming back. Do it here with a bucket, that's fine. I'll tell you, in Yerushalayim, all the Gedolim, that I saw, the big Chachamim, they all do with a bucket. Nobody goes to any pool with the fish. Nobody does any of this. You know what I mean? One time I spoke to the Chatan, Baba Sali, Rabbi Busu, David Busu, I told him, I said, yeah, we're going to do over here in the shul. So you know what he said, right? It should be, Hashem should accept your tefillah, It doesn't matter where you do it. Hashem should accept your tefillah. That's the most important thing, Say it with a good heart. So if you don't want to go to Flushing Meadow, probably I would say, honestly, I would say it's even better not to go. Because, as I said, right, there's too many pritzut there, there's all kinds of things going on there. Not really the most kosher thing, whatever. I'm not sure if you're gaining more or losing more going over there. Whoever wants to go, right? Yeah, whoever wants to go can go, What can I tell you? Some people like to go, But the thing is that the truth is, right, that Flushing Meadow Park, if you know a little bit about this, right, it's not in the Eruv. So therefore, if it falls on Shabbat, you're not allowed to take the Sidur over there, the Machzor. You cannot carry over there because there's no Eruv there in Flushing Meadow Park. So that's why this year, Baruch Hashem, it's okay because we have Yom Tov. That's not Shabbat. So you can carry anything you want, right? As long whatever you need, you can carry. Machzor, whatever you need. Keys, whatever you need, right? Don't bring your wallet, right? Well, you're not supposed to bring. So anyway, right, as we said, that's what you do, right, for Tashlich. We do it which night? The first night, or first day or second day? We do first day Tashlich. That's the best way, If he wasn't able to do it the first day, for instance, let's say he fell on Shabbat, right, and he wasn't able to carry, whatever, so you can do second day, That's you can do second day. It's okay, Whatever you can do, you can do. It's a minhag, So don't make it into some kind of a, Torah Misira, It's not from Har Sinai, Tashlich. What's the reason? I'll tell you. I'll finish with this, right? What's the reason, by the way, they made this minhag, to do Tashlich? Because there's a story in the Midrash brought down, that the Akedat Yitzchak, which day it was, right? Which day was it? Rosh Hashana. Akedat Yitzchak, right? So what happened was Hashem told him, to go to Har Moriah, right, and to offer his son, as a sacrifice, korban. So what happened was, they started to walk, Abraham and Yitzchak together, walking together, father and son, right? Like father, like son, right? So what's happening, right? Satan, sees them, that they're walking like this, and they're not afraid. They have no fear, no nothing, to kill his son. He has no fear. So Satan said, if I allow him to do this, the Jewish people are going to have a zechut, right, a sachar, for all history, until Mashiach comes. They're going to have a zechut of Akedat Yitzchak. That's why you mention it every year. It's a big zechut for us, Akedat Yitzchak. So Satan says, yes, I got to go and stop this guy, I don't want him to do this because the zechut is going to be too big for them. So what does he do? He goes out there, right? And they're walking, and he finds them, dressed like a man, Satan, right? He's like a gentleman, right? Whatever. So he goes out there and tells Abraham, He says, excuse me, sir. Avram, where are you going, sir? Where are you traveling to? So he says, we're going to Har Moriah, the Temple Mount, right? The Kotel. We're going to the Kotel. Right? So Satan says to him, what are you going there for? What do you need there? What's your business over there? So he tells Satan, he says, we're going to bring korban, we're going to bring sacrifice. So Satan tells him, he says, what sacrifice? I don't see any animal. You're not carrying any animal on your back. What are you going to say? You're going to sacrifice your son? He says, are you crazy? He says, all your life, you couldn't have a son. Now, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave you a son after 100 years. And now you're going to go and kill him? You're crazy! Meshuga! He told him, don't do this, This is the worst sin you can do, kill your own son. So, Avraham Avinu told to Satan, he says, listen, get out of my way, excuse me. Move over, move aside. I'm walking, excuse me. Don't block me. I got a job to do, my friend. So then, right, with Avraham it didn't work. Now he goes to Yitzchak, the Satan, you know what I mean? He tells him, he says, where are you going, you young man? Where are you going to? So the same thing, right? Tells him, I'm going to Har Moriah. We're going there, over there. He says, what for? So he says, yeah, we're going there, to bring korban. He says, what korban? Who's going to be korban? There's no animal. There's nothing. You got nothing. You going to be the korban? Aye, tells him. He says, what are you going to do? He says, you've been, holy, all your life. You're going to kill yourself, and blemish your, your body to be a korban. Are you crazy? You lost your mind? You're going to let your father kill you? You're nuts. You haven't even got married yet. You didn't do purvu. You don't have children, nothing. You're going to go kill yourself? So Yitzchak tells him, he says, excuse me, sir, move aside. Let us go through. doesn't want to listen to him, right? So what does he do? Satan, right? He gets frustrated, He says, these guys don't want to listen to me. What can I do with these guys? Wow. So what does he do, right? All of a sudden, he made a hocus pocus, right? He made over there a river, in front of them so they can't cross, big river, So he said, now they're going to be afraid to cross over. Too much water, right? Too deep, they may drown over there. So what happened, right? Avraham and Yitzchak, they saw the water, they just walked right in, right through the river. They couldn't care less, about the river. They said, we're going through, I don't care what it's going to be. So that's what happened, So Satan, wasn't able to stop him from doing the Akedah. And that's how we have the zchut of the Akedah until this day. It says, right in the Zohar Kadosh, that because of the zchut of Akedat Yitzchak is going to come Mashiach. B'mehera v'yaminu amen. לפי חניה כשומר, יצא הקדוש ברוך הוא להוסיף את ישראל, לפיכך יקרא להם תורה ומצוות, שנאמר בן חפץ, למען צדקו יגדיר תורה וידיר.